We identified, after talking to the experts, looking at the various studies and reports, we identified 4 leading challenges. I'm going to only highlight these quickly. One is the issue of FDA regulatory review and the need for more consistency and predictability. A second is we need to address private investment in company formation, R&D, and job development. Something the Denver paper had recently in terms of what's happening in the venture industry nationally as well as in Colorado is part and parcel of that. We also need to address gaps between where research ends and you develop a new product or process. Translational, reduction of practice work. And then last but not least, and long-term the most important, is the talent pool for the future. In terms of the regulatory challenges, the Food and Drug Administration has a huge agenda in front of us and in front of it, and they just are given more and more responsibility, whether it's avian flu or bioterrorism, tobacco, foods, cosmetics, and of course drugs and pharmaceuticals. They have $1 trillion worth of consumer goods they're supposed to regulate, 1/3 of all exports they're supposed to regulate. It's not surprising that they are having difficulty adjusting to this increased workload. The commissioner of FDA in March of this year actually said that they're trying to operate with 20th century science to evaluate 21st century medical products. So the science base, the scientific base of FDA is under challenge and threat. The lack of resources, the ongoing workforce crisis as retirements increase, and most important to industry is lack of predictability and consistency. Where you start is not where you end these days, and that is not a good way to develop new drugs and get them to patients quickly. In addition, the new healthcare legislation has raised concerns. We talked to our experts about the concern that regulators tend to think about existing treatments as adequate without looking at new medical innovations as ways to jumpstart new ways to address diseases. And we need to make sure that doesn't happen with the implementation of the healthcare reform legislation. The second challenge is private investment. First is the R&D tax credit. We're now in the 13th temporary extension of the federal R&D tax credit. Makes it very difficult for companies to strategize in their use of the R&D investment tax credit. So we need to make that permanent. We also need to make it more competitive. At one time, we started the whole trend in the world on R&D tax credits. Now we rank 10th out of 17 industrialized countries in the generosity of that credit. It's an issue we need to address. Also, we need to address the whole question of capital for startup seed and startup companies. The IPO market that enables venture capitalists to exit their investments is all but dried up. We're down from 4 bio IPOs a year to 3/4 of 1 per year, 88% decline. We also are seeing an industry that is now down to the 2005 level in the level of investments. And the number of first-time fundings, which is the measure of this, is way down, as you can see in this chart as well. So we need to address the whole situation with capital, or the research is not going to be translated into product and process and jobs. The next challenge is in terms of taking basic research, turning it into product and technology. We need to address the valley of death. I actually had a role in developing the terms valley of death 25 years ago. It has finally hit Washington as a term everybody uses today. It shows you how long it takes to get from the hinterland to Washington. But valley of death is real. It's very difficult for companies and for researchers and scientists and entrepreneurs to move forward. The Cures Acceleration Network is in the healthcare legislation reform, but we suggest in this report that NIH needs to take a look at supporting further downstream proof of concept and applied work, not just the basic research it has traditionally done. But we also need to look at federal R&D funding in terms of more predictability for it as well. If the federal stimulus money hadn't been given to NIH this year, $10 billion, NIH money actually would have gone down 7% this year from the previous budget year. So we need to get that back into a growth mode. The Bayh-Dole Act, which permits companies to license technology from medical centers and universities, is under attack by certain quarters. We think this is raising the wrong issues and the wrong questions. The real issue here is to increase business, university academic relationships, not create barriers to it. And finally, but not unimportant, is the whole issue of having more clinical trial work done in this country in terms of patient populations, of community physicians more actively involved in this effort. And the last challenge is the talent one. It's the long-term one, not as pressing perhaps in the immediate term as some of the other challenges, but clearly a long-term one that requires long-term action. The attention on STEM around K through 12 nationally and in states and regions across the country has been tremendous, but it's a long-term staying action to make it happen and turn it into improved talent. But we also need to look at our foreign talent that has difficulty staying in this country after graduation. There's some 3,300 master's and PhD graduates alone, our foreign nationals, that if we were able to get a green card could stay and work in companies and research institutions in this country.